You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast on BQN. We're here to showcase the films you probably missed, but should definitely check out. From independent and obscure to art house and absurd, each episode will gather perhaps a cocktail in hand to discuss it all. I'm your host, Mark, and with me today are obviously my lovely co-host, Matt Jennings, and Chrissie and Jason from History with the Szilagyis. Welcome.
Hello.
Guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Chrissie and Jason, it's so good to have you guys back.
We're glad to be back. Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
So round robin, guys, this is a party. What's everybody drinking?
I have in my glass that should be from Cork's Bar that I think my mother bought at TJ Maxx a bit of what is this? Long Road Raspberry Liqueur. It's from a local distillery up in Traverse City. Very good.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
And then some liquid IV because
Heck yeah.
And we're splitting those.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got a Tennessee whiskey Coca-Cola thing here. It's in a can. So I guess Tennessee whiskey and or Jack Daniels rather and Coca-Cola are kind of in cahoots with each other.
Okay.
So yeah, they're doing a bit.
I think that would play well in those Midwestern states. So, we're being on brand with politics today.
Yeah.
Well, I got home today and brought my dog over to visit my neighbors. Everybody in the neighborhood here, I mean, I've never lived somewhere that was more old school gin and tonic than this neighborhood. Like, everybody is into gin and tonic. And so I was visiting my neighbor. She gave me gin and tonic. So I came back and we're going to record the pod. So I just poured another. I'm like, why not?
Yeah, tonic water is, I don't know. It's not fruity. It's not, I don't know what it is. It's like sweet water.
Well, you can get flavored gins.
That's true.
Look, I have a gin. The gin that I used is actually it's one of the summer flavors that came out, and it's like citrusy, like orange.
Oh, that's tasty.
Well, guys, we have a very meaty discussion today ahead of us. We are kicking off our 2024 election season coverage here at Cinema Z. This is going to be the first two films that we're going to do. Matt and I are each going to pick one of our favorites to just get the discussion flowing around the network and for our listeners out there to be thinking about voting. Please, guys, if you're on the fence about voting or you're like, both candidates kind of blow, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just do us a favor and just go out and just vote for democracy, just to keep democracy in place so we don't have an authoritarian regime. That's all. The very least.
Yeah.
You can do mail in a lot of places. Just talk, call up City Hall, be like, hey, I live here. Can you send me a ballot? They will send you a ballot. I promise. There's lots of ways to vote, guys.
Definitely check your voter registration. Checking your voter registration is very important because some people think that, they have been registered and after a couple of years, all of a sudden they're not. So definitely double check. I double checked mine. I'm going to triple check mine. So do that.
Yeah, I think South Carolina, there was like 750,000 people kicked off the rosters. So, yeah, very important to check that.
It's happening. Everyone, please. And also, everyone, know where your ballot boxes are as well.
Yes.
Know where those ballot boxes are. Some places, people are trying to remove them. That's something else that I'll talk about later.
This episode is sponsored by Vote Blue and your friends at The Lincoln Project. Just because I love the guys at The Lincoln Project, listen, some of my best friends are Republicans. They got a sense of humor over there. Their ads are fantastic. Clearly, we're going to be talking politics today, guys. And it's already feisty. So. And we have liquor, so great. Today, we're going to be discussing Frost Nixon. It is a 2008 historical drama film based on the 2006 play of the same name by Peter Morgan, who adapted the screenplay. The film tells the story behind the Frost Nixon interviews of 1977. And the film was directed by Ron Howard. So, guys, I would like to know why each of you were interested in checking this film out, or if you weren't, what is the first impression?
Okay. Well, I wanted to watch it because we teach a lot of U.S. history, and so we do go over and discuss Watergate quite a bit. And most of our students do not realize that Nixon was not tried for that. There was no trial. He resigned, and then Gerald Ford, who came into office after him, gave him a kind of blanket pardon for anything that he's done or will do.
Mm.
Yeah. And that's the students that know what Watergate is, which I don't blame them. We're getting to the point where they were born in this century, so it's okay. But yeah, I've been meaning to watch this like since it was released, and it's one of those, it gets stuck on the list and you don't get a chance to, and so you guys forced it. I had not seen it, no.
Ooh.
No. Yeah.
Thumbs up? Thumbs down?
Oh, thumbs up, absolutely. Thumbs up. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I definitely got to say, after watching the movie, I can definitely see how it was a play. I wish I can only imagine just just the dialogue and how juicy some of those monologues are. Because when I think of this movie, I think of, have you guys seen The Network?
The Network or Network?
The Network.
From the 70s?
Yes.
Yes. Long time ago, but yes.
Yes. Now that
I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Yes.
Yeah. Now that movie, I think it was the reverse, where it's... Sorry, give me one moment, because I might switch over.
So, why I wanted to watch this again, I haven't seen it since, I probably, when it came out, I watched it, I think. I get drawn towards, like, historical movies, just because, like, I like to learn about history. And so I think that's why I initially wanted to check it out. And I don't think I've seen it since, but why it popped into mind for this particular Cinema Z episode, right? There's so many political movies out there. There's so many movies that we could show the audience. But I really wanted to cut to the quick of it. If we're just going to do a couple of political movies this round for Cinema Z, I wanted to make sure that we got one in there that would get our audience to think and process about the recent past and about how it relates to today. And I think that watching this film, at least for me, I saw a lot of parallels between not only like where the culture was at, but also like where our political systems were and how toxic it was at that time. I mean, we had literally multiple assassinations that happened, within recent history of this. So yeah, it was just, I think that it's timely, and I'm hoping that the audience gets a little bit more information out of it and a little bit of something to process before they head to the ballot box. So that's sort of the concept. But before we jump into really discussing the film, I want to, because this is going to be another hybrid episode with our friends at History With the Szilagyis, I want to, I guess, hand them the baton to kick us off with some historical factoids.
Ooh, all right. I don't know about you guys, but, and maybe it's a bit of a trope, but I always feel like the 70s were 20, 25 years ago, and I just assume that people were kind of aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And so even some of the real basic stuff, we'll start with on Nixon, right? Nixon was a World War II vet, and that was a big part of his campaigning, that he had that background. He was Eisenhower's vice president. He was expected to win in 1960, going up against Kennedy. And as is talked about in the movie, the debate just ruined him for all intents and purposes. It was the first televised debate, and he looked a lot older than he was, and he looked sick, and he was sick. And Kennedy looked young and fresh, and young people were watching on TV, and older people were listening on the radio, and people on the radio thought that Nixon won. People watching thought Kennedy won, and more people who were watching voted, I guess is the bottom line there. He didn't run against Johnson, so he doesn't pick up again until 68. and that was when he comes in, and then we have the issues around Watergate with the 72 election. Some things that are surprising about him for people who grew up like me, hearing that he was, the worst possible president that we could have ever had. He
Thus far.
up to that point. Yeah. Right. So some things that might be surprising about him. He signed the bill that created the EPA. Okay. And I don't think the Clean Water Act was under him, but it was getting underway there.
He also, when he came into office, he did not try to reverse Johnson's policies with the Great Society.
Yeah.
Where there had been the push for civil rights under Kennedy, and after he's assassinated, with Lyndon B. Johnson pushing it through, Nixon did not go after anything that would rescind or restrict civil rights, at least in terms of race, which was interesting because when you look at the history of the election race between Kennedy and Nixon, there was the Southern strategy, which was a huge thing that the Republicans blamed basically the Democrats pulling African American votes, in order to ensure that that Kennedy would win, because he was pushing for expanding civil rights. And of course, he does not live long enough in his presidency to actually put that through. Lyndon Johnson does, but he gives Kennedy the credit that this is how the United States remembers him, because this is what Kennedy had wanted to do, was to expand it.
Yeah, he said something like, this is the most effective eulogy you can give John Kennedy, is making sure that bill goes through, when he talked to Congress about it. But you don't see him trying. He didn't get up in front of people and say that he was going to rescind Medicare. That was very obviously something that would have been political suicide, unlike other things that have been tried to be rescinded that have care in them. We can be political, unlike recent presidents who are like,
please,
I'm going to get rid of Obamacare. It's like that should be political suicide. That shouldn't, yeah.
I love that Obama has come out recently and said that now that it's popular, nobody wants to call it Obamacare anymore. And when he said that, I just died. Because when everybody was like bagging on it and wanting to get rid of it, it was Obamacare. But now it's the Affordable Care Act, because they want to keep it.
Yeah.
They want to keep it, and also it's just, it's very problematic to me that it is a person of color that had a good idea, and now all of a sudden that it's doing well, Obama's name is off of it.
So that's a little bit of information about Richard Nixon, but who's this Frost guy? Because honestly, I think coming into it, I had no idea who this guy was. And if people haven't seen the film, they're like, what? Who's Frost? Can you guys let the listeners know, if they haven't seen the film yet, maybe who is David Frost?
When I first heard about it too, the only thing I knew was he was the guy who interviewed Nixon. So that was because I had heard about it from my mother, actually, going back that far. But Jay did some research here.
Yeah, with David Frost, he was a television host. He was a satirist. From about 1960 to roughly 1963, there was a big push in British television to, be able to talk about and make fun of the government and of celebrities and of social policies that were taking place in England or the United Kingdom. And then that took off. It was the idea of the satire talk show host. Over the course of his career, some people kind of looked at him as a bumbling goon, because he would interview a huge, variety of different people that you wouldn't expect. Like some of the people other than, Nixon that he interviewed, Muhammad Ali, he ended up interviewing...
was every prime minister?
Every prime minister.
He was every U.S. president.
Yeah, so 8 British prime ministers between 1964 and 2016. So Harold Wilson, Edward Heath, James Callaghan, Margaret Thatcher, John Major, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, and David Cameron. So he's responsible for interviewing the prime ministers that basically had to dismantle the empire and holding them kind of, to a degree, a little bit of account of what is going on. Mm-hmm. He interviewed 7 U.S. presidents between 1969 and 2009. So Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. He also was the last person to interview the Shah of Iran after he was overthrown. And so it's this interesting thing when before he gets, this breakout ability to interview Nixon, some of the things that he would do is he's talking to the Rhodesian prime minister, and then he interviewed somebody who was an insurance fraudster and basically forced them to admit that they were defrauding insurance companies. And so it's kind of this thing where he had a lot of comedians, he had a lot of political agents, he had kind of everybody in his shows. And it's kind of funny because when he gets into this position, it's when the BBC is losing its, how should we say, monopoly on British TV.
How should we say it was?
Yeah, it was.
It was a literal monopoly.
Yeah, and so you had all these different kind of television franchises for different parts of the United Kingdom, and he just happened to get the one. He got hired by the one that was covering London and the surrounding areas, so he was in the heart of politics.
Right out of college, too.
Right out of college, yeah. And so it's kind of one of those things where he came in at kind of the right time.
So would you say he was like Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show, because he does have political guests and he does have comedians and movie stars?
Yeah, a little bit like that. It was, there was the idea that his shows, the interviews that he would conduct were soft interviews. He would touch on certain things, but he'd leave other things alone.
But by the end of his career, he was a little more Jon Stewart.
Yeah. And he would catch catch people, and he wouldn't let them go if they were trying to exaggerate or lie. Yeah. He would call them out on it, which is something that in the early part of his career he did not do. But he did make a lot of enemies in the entertainment industry. There were comedians who thought that, or actually not thought, publicly said that he was, either at best he had no talent, at worst he was a plagiarizer for other people's material, that he was copying what other people did.
Which do not seem to be terribly substantiated.
Yeah.
At least not in what we saw.
Yeah. But he ended up getting the Order of the British Empire in 1970, so that's pretty high up. He was given, he was made a knight. He ended up having honorary doctor degrees from Emerson College and the University of Sussex, the University of Winchester. So he was for journalism and for, law. He did prove his point. He was a successful journalist. It took him a little while to get to that, to the point where people respected him as a legitimate journalist, but he wasn't a pushover. If he thought later on in his career, if he thought somebody was trying to slip something past him, he went after him.
I do wonder this. I don't want to take up too much time, but I do wonder, they say you don't really know what you're made of until you've been in a good fight.
Yes.
And, with hearing this information about him later on in his career, how he wouldn't let people get away with things and how he would push people on things if he felt like that, issue needed to be expanded on. Was his interview with Nixon the turning point in that? Were there any other moments before that which, we saw glimmers of it? Or do you think it was the interview with Nixon that made him...
I think it was the interview with Nixon.
As do I.
Because he was an incredibly well-known, television host in England. And then he also, while he's shooting, his show in England, he also has one in the United States. And so he was the best known British television host in the United States. So you had this kind of thing where he had, to kind of prove, I think, to a degree, that he wasn't a joke, because he struggled to get these interviews on the air, and he had to pay up front to get them started and then hope that he'd make that money back after they were broadcast. And if Nixon made a fool out of him, then it's very likely he would have lost all of his programs.
Yeah. But he did some heavy hitters prior to that. So I don't know if, maybe the seed is there, but you got to get the right fertilizer.
He had the I guess, the know-how to recognize an opportunity when he saw it. And that's, I mean, I got that from the film, is that he saw Nixon leaving the White House and was like, I got to talk to this guy. He's got a story. There's something there. And I think what's there I can get out of him. But he knew that. He was uniquely qualified, I think. So that's who we're talking about here today, for the Frost-Nixon interviews. But the interview itself is important. And the reason they made a movie essentially about a set of interviews, there's a reason for that. Because they meant something, because they were important. And I want our audience to sort of maybe understand a little bit better, why should we give a shit that Richard Nixon was interviewed by a talk show host? Like, why should we care? Why? So, Chrissie and Jason, can you explain a little bit to our audience, like, why they should give a shit?
All right. So, the short version of Watergate. Nixon has the aptly named Committee to Re-elect the President, which has the acronym CREEP, which just says everything you want to know about this.
No, it doesn't. Really? Oh my God.
Oh, yes. Funny. No, that's for real. That's for real. Yeah. And that was not added afterward. They were using that at the time. So there's a group in this who are going to try to illegally get dirt on some of the opposition at the DNC. Okay. And they're going to do this by breaking into the offices at the DNC headquarters in DC, which at the time was in the Watergate Hotel. If you're young enough that you don't remember this happening, then you have only ever heard Watergate used in the context of either the Watergate break-in itself or things that people like to try to turn into gates because Watergate has caused a gate to be put on everything. Okay.
Yes.
So you have this group of guys who break into the office. They do so very poorly. They think they're really all great, but they do so very poorly. They get found out. That in and of itself, if that had been it, that's a problem, but it's not the problem that it was once Nixon tried to start covering up his connection to it. It was meant to look like just a random break-in, and it got too, the information coming out just got too close to Nixon, and so then he had to start flailing around and trying to cover it up and trying to prevent people from knowing that he was involved. Isn't there saying that's not the crime that gets you, it's the cover-up or something like that, which I've never really understood, because if you don't do the crime, you don't have to cover it up, but that's a whole other thing. So there's hearings about this, all right? And there's a lot of people who are very tight-lipped about it. And then finally we end up with a guy named John Dean, who was one of Nixon's staffers. And he spills the beans on it. He ends up in low-security prison for a few years for his involvement on it. And he's still around. If you watch any of the pundit shows, he makes the rounds talking about all of the current events and stuff like that. Not as much as he used to, but he was real vocal during the George W. Bush administration. And so then it gets to the point where there is a House committee that has to decide whether or not there is sufficient information to bring charges against the president. Now, according to the Constitution, a president can be impeached for high crimes or misdemeanors, okay? So trying to undermine an election definitely falls in that category, okay? Notes in recent past, too, as well.
Oh, yeah. I think you can do it now, though.
Yes, well, this is why you can. We'll get to that.
Okay.
There's a precedent set here that's very bad.
There's a little sarcasm in my voice, listeners. I hope we can go on. Okay.
Yes, mine too. Okay. Right. So the way that works is the House does the investigation and sets up the articles of impeachment, and then the trial is held in the Senate. Okay. So it gets all the both parts of Congress involved in that. We get to the point where there's going to be a trial in the Senate. It has not yet started. And basically, a number of Republican senators go to Nixon and say, we cannot vote to acquit you. There is too much evidence. This is too damning. you are going to be impeached. And if you are impeached, this is going to go further and you're probably going to end up in prison. Okay. And so that's why he resigned, because he did not want to be, removed from office and everything that would come with that. That was when, I don't want to go so far as to say that was
it's fine. That's when the Republicans had backbone.
Please.
Yeah, I mean,
please.
Well,
please don't hold back.
Okay, here's the thing, though. I don't want to say it's when it was country over party, because there was a lot of other bullshit that was going on. But in this case, it was country over party. Okay.
Well, and it's ironic that we are recording tonight on the night when I just watched Liz Cheney for an hour discuss her and her father endorsing Kamala Harris, and this is the first Democrat she's ever endorsed. And I remember hating Dick Cheney so bad during, you
still can. It's okay.
During Bush's term in office.
Stop clocks.
But here's the thing. I have to at least tip my hat to the man and his daughter for at the very least, stepping up to the plate when democracy's on the line to help support democracy. So kudos to both of those guys. But we just need more people like that. It used to be, at least what you're talking about during Nixon's time, where that was everybody. Like everybody that was elected official at the time, or at least, the bulk of them, would rather, put democracy first, put country first before party. And we definitely see a lot less of that today.
I'm too much of a cynic to believe that was always, that it was entirely that way. I'm not being argumentative. I'm really very much a cynic. And there's
was Lindsey Graham alive back then?
Yeah. Was he alive or was he in the Senate? I don't know if he was in the Senate off the top of my head. I think Cheney was in the House at this point. I know Strom Thurmond was in the Senate at this point. He'd been for 50 years already. And so I mean, there were definitely some self-serving people in there.
Was definitely there. I think he was a page.
Yeah.
Well, McConnell's 106 right now, isn't he? I don't know. Those pieces have been melting off. He
definitely looks like it. He's not. He is not as old as Strom Thurmond was when Strom Thurmond finally left. Yeah, really? I'm trying to think. Because Strom Thurmond, I think I'll look right now, but I think Strom Thurmond was almost 90.
Mitch is old. Yeah. He's old. He's an old racist guy. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, another thing
he's 82. Oh my god, he's the same age as my father. McConnell's 82.
Mitch McConnell's only 82.
Well, that's what evil does to you.
Yeah.
I was just about to say the same
Strom
thing.
Thurmond. Yeah. Okay. So Strom Thurmond, just to give you an idea here. Okay, he was the senator from South Carolina. Yeah, from 56 to 2003. Okay, and he died shortly after. He died 6 months after he left office. He was 101. He was 101 when he left office. Wow. Okay, he was the governor of South Carolina from 47 to 51. This is somebody who ran for president being openly racist.
Well, somebody other than Trump, yeah.
Well, okay.
Another thing too is that with Nixon's administration, his vice president, Agnew, had to resign because he was being investigated for corruption. And so it's Nixon, no vice president, and then if Nixon is tried, then it goes to
who was the Speaker of the House at the time? I don't remember.
And what ends up happening is that Nixon ends up choosing Gerald Ford as his successor. And Ford will give him a pardon for whatever crimes he may or may not have committed while he was in office. There's another part even beyond this. When you're looking at Nixon, yes, during his second attempt at his re-election campaign, he has a lot of shadows hanging over him. Because one of the things that he had promised to do when he got into office the first time was that he was going to get U.S. forces out of Vietnam. And what he ends up doing is he intensifies the war in order to try to force the North Vietnamese to go to the peace talks. And so he starts bombing not only North Vietnamese cities, he starts bombing Cambodia and Laos, which are neighboring countries to North and South Vietnam, because that's where supplies and weapons, and people were coming through from the north into the south. Cambodia was a neutral country, and you have tens of thousands of people who end up getting injured and killed with the U.S. bombing campaign and U.S. ground soldiers crossing over the border illegally because we're not at war with Cambodia. That ends up causing the Khmer Rouge to come in and then purge an eighth of the population, totally destabilizing it. And then as, we have this intensive, bombing campaign, yes, he is discussing with North Vietnam how the U.S. can withdraw from the war. But at the same time, he comes up with this term that's peace with honor, basically meaning that United States military forces are going to pull out of Vietnam. The South Vietnamese who we are supporting, or had been supporting, they're going to have to fight the war on their own. And so what ends up happening is, as U.S. troops withdraw, South Vietnam falls because they cannot hold up again. They're exhausted by this point in time. And, Nixon's, we have the war. Everybody's, has managed to withdraw. We supposedly leave in 72, but we still have soldiers there until the very end in 75, and advisors and civilians in that area. And so even after he leaves office, Vietnam is still on his head because he lost the war. The war was not winnable, but it was under his administration that it went from we're holding ground to we're collapsing.
Yeah. Not just to get back, the speaker at the time was a Democrat. So had he not gotten a vice president in place, we would have had a party change. Yeah. I just want to say and make sure that it's understood that as far as we know, and there's no reason to believe otherwise, there was not a quid pro quo with Ford. No. Quid pro quo with Ford. He wasn't told, like, you become VP and if you will, pardon me. That appears to have been
not the case.
Yeah.
But it is, to a degree, for the Republican Party, this is saving face for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because if they did have a sitting president in their party who is going to be tried for high crimes and misdemeanors, and in this case, trying to cover up a break-in against the DNC and provide money for lawyers to cover people he supposedly has nothing to do with, and there's a recording system in the White House that records all of his conversations, and there's missing time in that. For the Republican Party, they're looking at it as, if he stays and we have to go through this process of impeachment, this will destroy our party too. Mm-hmm. Because he's our sitting president from our party. His vice president has already resigned for corruption. This is as bad, if not, this is actually worse than what his vice president did. Mm-hmm. And there's the fear that if this trial goes through, it will be damning for the Republicans, and they'll be stuck in the political wilderness where they don't know when they're going to get the next potential nominee who's going to stand a chance being elected. So putting Ford in there, who for the most part is relatively squeaky clean in terms of his political record, it was a good compromise because he's, in all intents and purposes, not attached to the Nixon administration at all. So there's no, there's no residue, so to speak, on him. And he can hopefully rebuild public confidence, American public confidence in the Republican Party, so that when the next election rolls through, they stand a chance of winning.
So since this is a movie podcast, I'll say, if you really want to know, like if you want to get a good overview of Watergate, the thing to watch is All the President's Men.
Robert Redford.
Yes,
Robert
Redford, Dustin Hoffman. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're an X-Files fan, you will see where the character of Deep Throat came from the actual person who gave that name.
Matt,
and then
Matt, listen. No, Deep Throat. No, we're talking history here. This isn't your OnlyFans.
What? I didn't say a word. Please subscribe. I could use some money for rent. I didn't say a word. Please subscribe.
Yeah. So, but that actually he did give the name because of the porn. That was where he got. Yeah, the guy who was the informer for
Watergate.
Jesus H. Watergate. Forgive me. I'm coming off of a migraine. So, the guy who was the informer for Woodward and Bernstein gave the name Deep Throat. And he did that because of the porn that was on at the time. It was fairly new, I guess. And because nobody would believe them if they said that was who their informant was. So he did that intentionally. And then X-Files picked up on it and used that for their guy. Yeah.
Oh.
And if you watch Forrest Gump, it was Forrest Gump who made the call to the police that busted up the Watergate robbery.
That's not the same. That's not supposed to be
Aaron.
Deep Throat, but yes, he did do that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
No.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
That's great.
Well, so to circle back, because
Yes.
reclaiming my time, I'm reclaiming my
Sorry.
time here.
Okay, Auntie Maxine. Okay.
You didn't answer my question. So why is the interview important?
Well, it was for Nixon and the team of people that were around him. They saw this as an opportunity to rehabilitate his reputation because they thought that Frost was going to be a pushover, that he would just give him easy questions, that he would not push on certain topics because they weren't supposed to talk about Watergate. They could talk about, some of the things, the expansion of the Vietnam War. But for the most part, what Nixon was hoping was that maybe this would be a way for him to come out of political exile and not be viewed as the worst former sitting president who was still alive at the time. Yes, little did he know if he just waited a little bit longer before he died.
Someone else would
took that scepter out of his hand, so to speak. But and it's the idea that, Nixon his team does not choose a known American journalist. You're not looking at Walter Cronkite who's going to interview him. It's a TV talk show host. Think of it like if he were still alive, Jerry Springer interviewing Donald Trump.
I don't know if it's that.
About the idea, though, that you have a joke of a talk show host giving a political pariah the ability to have a platform. And not just for one episode, but multiple episodes.
But back then, why would people tune in? Why would there be an audience then? Why would people care then? I think the point that the one interviewer was, not the investigator was making, is that he had said, in the movie that Richard Nixon didn't pay for any of it. Like all of the crimes and the cover-ups and the break-in and everything.
Yes. And there was never...
There's nothing.
Yeah, there was never truth. And for Watergate, this is, this was an everyday thing that was going on.
People were pissed.
In the newspapers, on the television. Yeah, and the newspaper.
America's pissed now. America's pissed now. It's been 4 fucking years since Trump denied January 6th. 4 years since he encouraged a mob to riot the Capitol, storm the Capitol, to break windows, to murder people. It's been 4 fucking years. This is how the climate was the same then as it is now. People were fucking pissed at Dick Nixon. People are fucking pissed at Donald Trump. And that is why this movie is important.
Your Jimmy Fallon analogy is a good one from earlier. Because I said Jon Stewart, but take this exact situation, and if Trump sat down for an interview with Jimmy Fallon and ended up getting grilled, that's what this was. That's what this was. And yes, you are 100% correct. We got too much into analysis because that's what we do too much of. But yeah, bottom line, people were pissed. People are still pissed about this. This was Watergate in itself, and the fact that it was never properly legally dealt with is arguably the reason why things are as fucked as they are right now in American politics, because somebody was allowed to get away with it. And it wasn't even that was the worst thing that we could think of that somebody would have done up to that point. And now, it looks like child's play. He had some people break into an office, but he didn't have a mob storm the Capitol. So it's okay.
He didn't ask Russia on national television to hack into the DNC or to dig up stuff on Hillary Clinton on live TV for us all to
Only
see.
Nixon can go to China. Yeah. Yeah. He was so He was known to be so American and so the epitome of what Americans were, that he was the only president who could reopen negotiations for trade with China, which was communist, had been communist at that time for 30 years.
All right, moving on, something a little lighter, maybe.
Yes.
What was something surprising that you learned maybe because of this film?
I didn't know much about Frost at all. So where he was coming from with it was all news to me, and I did not realize that he wasn't a newsman in the traditional sense. So
I found it interesting, too, that when Frost is trying to sell these interviews to networks, initially nobody wants to touch him. And he had to front the money himself and then hope that he was going to recover any of that lost money.
He showed that syndication was possible. And because we're on the BQN, I'm going to say it's because of things like this that we got Star Trek The Next Generation syndication. So just,
Yeah.
There's not a direct line there, but there's
Thank you,
not.
Dick Nixon, the father of modern Star Trek.
Oh, dear God, no.
I am not a Borg.
Oh, God, Jason, I'm dead. Oh, shit.
I mean, I think I have to say because I'm just thinking about this as an actor and as a creator trying to get people to believe in your projects. Watching this man, Frost, go door to door trying to get someone to put money into this thing and to give him a chance, give him a break. They already start filming and he still doesn't have the money. It's not that I didn't know it. I guess it's just I empathized with the artist trying to get someone to believe in what you're doing consistently. That's what hit me about him. One of the things that hit me about him.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to Chrissie and Jason a little bit before we started, and one of the things that I didn't realize, Nixon was funny. He didn't mean to be funny.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize he was such a weirdo. Like, before I saw this film, I just thought he was a boring ex-president that did some stuff that was messed up. But I didn't realize that really he was a little off. The guy was a little touched. And I'm going to be honest, like, this movie, there were moments where I just laughed out loud at Dick Nixon. It's not supposed to be a funny movie, but I'll tell you, some things just really tickled my funny bone, and they shocked me into laughter, I guess.
I mean, I gotta say, there are some things where, when we look at Watergate and we look at how Nixon was able to get away with Watergate, and then we look at, what's happening with Donald Trump, it is very interesting to see little tidbits of moments. I'm not sure, if any of that was word specific to what actually happened, but he's got a moment where he's speaking to his right hand man, Kevin Bacon, and he's talking about the reporter, and he says something about, he pulls out a notepad and says, I can see if I can get some trained CIA officers over there to blah blah blah. And he just pulls out a notepad and starts writing down some ideas of how he's going to send these people over to Frost's hotel room. And Kevin Bacon's character is like, oh my God. And then Nixon looks at him and sees that he's actually petrified and he goes, oh, I was just kidding. Fast forward to, Donald Trump, who's talking about if he gets back in office, executing and, penalizing his enemies. It's interesting to see the birth and the prequel to what we are, to what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
That's all.
And with the, Nixon skating through Watergate, that opened the door for Reagan to go through the Iran-Contra affair and not be charged with that, which is on a much greater scale, more criminal, and laying the groundwork of,
and cause deaths.
Yes.
That's the thing. As far as we know, nobody died from Watergate.
Well, guys, this is the funnest part of the pod here. I think it's time for Director's Cut.
we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
So in this segment, guys, we reenact some of our favorite scenes from the film without any rehearsal at all. We raw dogging it.
Professionally, it's called a cold read. That is professionally, it's called a cold read. I will now refer to it as raw dogging. When I walk into an audition, Matt, we're going to do a cold read for a character. Oh, you mean raw dogging? Okay, that's going to win the casting directors over.
Good.
You know what? It could.
You might find a listener to Cinema Z in doing that. You never know.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Let's bring in that actor that mentioned raw dogging. Let's bring him in. I think he was good. He was good.
Jesus Christ. All right. The first scene we have here, I tried to go in order with these. So the first scene here is towards the beginning of the film, where we do have the famous resignation speech given by Nixon in the Oval Office. This kind of sets up the film, right? So this is like the fall of Dick Nixon. And so in this scene, we have Reston, Nixon, Burt, studio manager, and Zelnick. Now, I've combined Burt and studio manager because both don't have a lot of lines, and so whoever picks that will be that person.
I'll do Reston.
I'll do Nixon.
Oh God.
So Matt, you missed.
Mark
So Jason did a really good Nixon before we started. Oh, okay.
I heard it immediately.
So I am very excited for that. I definitely, I've been practicing my Nixon, so I want to get a couple in there as Nixon. But yeah, I'm very excited to hear Jason. Sorry,
I'm gonna do your Clinton for them too later.
Matt,
I will be the studio manager.
Okay, then I will be Zelnick.
Action.
Nowadays, people forget. But in the summer of 1972, Richard Nixon was unassailable. He was winding down the war in Vietnam, achieved a diplomatic breakthrough with the Russians. He was the first Western leader to visit China. None of his political opponents could lay a finger on him. His approval ratings matched Kennedy's, and he was about to be reelected with the largest landslide in recent memory. And then he decided to try to cover up a third-rate burglary.
5, 4, 3...
Good evening. This is the 37th time I've spoken to you from this office, where so many decisions have been made that shaped the destiny of our nation.
Like everyone else, I watched the Watergate drama play out in my living room. I've been glued to the Select and Judiciary Committee hearings night after night. Finally, it had come to this.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
But instead of the satisfaction I imagined I'd feel, I just got angrier and angrier. Because there was no admission of guilt, no apology.
To leave office before my term is completed is aberrant to every instinct in my body, but I've never been a quitter. But I do so secure in the knowledge that America is a better country, and the world a safer place than when I came to power 5.5 years ago.
Little did I know that I would one day be part of the team that would try to elicit that apology.
To have served in this office is to have felt a very personal sense of kinship with each and every American. In leaving it, I do so with this prayer. May God's grace be with you in all the days ahead.
And that the team would be led by the most unlikely white knight, a man with no political convictions. Indeed, someone who had never voted in his life, but a man who had one big advantage over all of us. He understood television.
Cut.
Yeah, that's good.
I also thought that was appropriate, too, because of the importance of that last line. He had one big advantage over all of us. He understood television. And I think that is something that when I read it and I heard it, was something I immediately thought of Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that is one of the reasons he's been able to succeed is because he understood the medium of which he's delivering his very toxic, vile, evil messages.
Yeah. And I think that we've got to be very careful with what we're ingesting in terms of media And I'm not talking about watching something like Newsmax, which is clearly built on conspiracy theories. I'm just saying that we got to be very mindful of the sources of the information that we're getting. And even when we're getting our information from those credible sources, we also have to be very, very careful and mindful of the imagery and the things that they are selecting to put out there as well. I'm going to refer to the assassination attempt, the first one, against Donald Trump. A lot of social media outlets, even NPR, which I love, NPR decided to keep and show the picture of Donald Trump with the blood on his face with his fist raised in the air, just for the sake of the striking image, not realizing that at the same time this is romanticizing a coward. And other news outlets did that as well and kept that picture. You just have to be mindful of what is being put out there, even when it is coming from a credible source. They still have to sell their papers and they still have to get eyes on it. And so make sure that you're keeping your eye on the ball. That's all.
Yeah, and trust your gut and your own, intelligence. Like if you hear something that you think is probably BS, then look into it and look into it again and again until you get to the truth, until you understand the truth. Like if you think it's not real, then look into it. Use your own brain. Don't just trust the hive mind.
Yeah. Don't be assimilated.
And use legitimate sources too.
Don't be assimilated.
Yes.
Okay.
Legitimate sources. Thank you. Yes. Legitimate sources. Legitimate sources, not TMZ. As
we're gonna make it.
I say
Borg
TMZ
over.
Borg Nixon. Oh my God, I love it. Okay.
Listeners, if we want to think about certain things that are happening in the Republican Party, if we want to think about racism, the Borg is a great analogy.
Borg Nixon is not real. He cannot hurt you. Okay,
he's not real.
All right. So moving on, this is scene 2, and I have called this scene a cascade of candor, because that is how Frost described what he anticipated Nixon's response to his questions as being, and he was really tongue-in-cheek about it. But I just thought that would be fun, because that is going to be, we're going to start off with the first interview between David Frost and Richard Nixon. And in this scene, we have Nixon, Frost, Director and Zelnick, and we have so many characters, and Brennan and Davis. So there will be a couple of people playing dual roles here.
I really want to do Frost.
Oh, I was going to say, I think we should hear Mark's Nixon. So there you go.
All righty.
You said you wanted to have that. I can do director / the other person.
Then I will do...
You got to be Brennan Davis.
Brennan Davis. There we go.
Action.
I'd like to put a handkerchief here, if I may. Is that out of the shot correctly? I think we made a provision for that. During each question, I might dab my upper lip, which you won't show when you cut it together. You're probably aware of my history with perspiration.
If you're referring to the TV debate with Jack Kennedy in 1960?
They say that moisture on my upper lip cost me the presidency. People who listened on the radio thought I'd won. Television and the close-up. So now they insist I bring my handkerchief and that I have my eyebrows trimmed. Do you trim yours?
No.
Of course not. You're light-skinned, have blue eyes, and no problems with perspiration, I imagine.
Not that I'm aware.
You were obviously born on the tube.
60 seconds, everyone.
Those shoes, they're Italian, aren't they?
My shoes? I believe so.
Interesting. You don't find them too effeminate?
No.
I suppose someone in your field can get away with them.
5, 4, 3.
Mr. President, we are going to be covering a lot of subjects in a great deal of detail over the course of these interviews, but I'd like to begin completely out of context by asking you one question more than any other. Almost every American and people all over the world want me to ask, why didn't you burn the tapes?
Son of a bitch.
God damn it.
Mr. Frost, I'm surprised by your question, since we had an agreement, a contractual agreement, I believe, that we would cover Watergate in our last taping session. But if your viewers really do have a major concern, then perhaps I should briefly respond to it now. What probably very few people realize is that the taping system in the White House was set up by my predecessor, President Johnson, partly to avoid the necessity of having a secretary in every meeting, and partly to ensure that there was a record kept of every verbal agreement, no matter how off the cuff or casual. Initially, coming into the White House, I insisted on dismantling the system.
In boxing, there's always that moment. You see it in the challengers' faces. The instant they feel the power of the champ's first jab. A sickening moment, when they realize all the pep talks, and the hype, and the months of psyching themselves up has been delusional all along. You could see it in Frost's face. If he hadn't known the caliber of the man he was up against before the interview started, he knew it halfway through the first answer.
I hadn't liked the idea at all, but President Johnson had repeatedly said how crazy it would be to remove the system, which he felt was the best way to preserve for history important White House transactions.
So much for a ballsy opening.
Cut.
That was a big scene. I had a lot to read.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. So, yeah, that did feel like that to me, too, while I was watching it, like a boxing match. And you really got a good sense of what we were going to see in the course of this interview, this toe-to-toe, tit-for-tat kind of a back and forth. And honestly, like, it's debate season right now, you know, and we just watched
J.D. Vance and Tim Walz.
J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, but also, you know, Trump when he debated Kamala. Like, two very different debating styles. And the back and forth between the two of them was very feisty. But yet when you got to J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, it was very, very much more scaled back, very professional, very boring, so to speak.
And I think the thing is that what I hate to say is that I hate that it's come to that where we see it as watered down, but it's because we have been exposed since Donald Trump to a style of debate, a style of dialogue, if you can even call it that, between political parties that has become hostile due to Donald Trump. Whereas, when we see J.D. Vance and Walz at a debate, it is for the most part pretty civil and what a debate should be. Now, obviously, J.D. Vance is a great spinner, and he sounds great when he's lying.
Polite.
He's polite. He's a polite, great spinning liar. And so he just sounds good when he's lying. And, we have Walz, who may not be as quick with certain things, but his facts come out like water, which is great. Also, check the New York Times so you can see the fact checks on both vice presidential candidates as well. But what I will say in regards to debate culture or the debate atmosphere and with this interview between Frost and Nixon is that, I don't think that Frost fully understood, at least the character Frost in this movie, fully understood what he was getting into. I think he was still taking it too lightly and not really understanding the stakes of the situation and what he was taking on. Nixon, on the other hand, I think Nixon is, I'm going to bring up, some Klingon culture here. Nixon is talking about this like he's a Klingon. He's referring to this interview as a duel. He's talking about this being a battle. I'll see you on the battlefield. I'm going to be battle ready. He came ready for war. Frost had to, like I said earlier at the beginning, you don't know what you're made of until you've been in a good fight. And Frost had to get knocked around a little bit to really understand the weight of what was going on. Overall, bringing it back to debates, it's definitely a mind game sometimes. And you've got to be in that arena. You've got to be careful and you've got to be focused. Kamala was able to get under Donald Trump's skin because she brought up crowd sizes. Donald Trump being the buffoon that he is, decided to, take that like a dog reaching for a bone and just run with the crowd size situation. That's all I'm going to say. It is a mind game to a certain extent. It's a tactic, and it's something that actors do as well. When we think about Nixon, who's someone that understands television and acting, each character has an objective. Each character has a thing that they want to do, and the thing that they teach you in acting class is, okay, what is your character going to do to get what they want? What are they going to do in that text, and what are they going to do outside of that text on stage to get what they want?
Well, the next scene I have here is I've titled Limelight. It's a really cool kind of moment between Frost and Nixon. They're discussing sort of the goals for the interview and what the interview really means between both men, just man to man, what this interview means. And just to hear sort of their different depictions of what was going on, I think was really telling, and it was. I think this is a really pivotal scene in the film. I know that for the next scene that's going to follow this, I would like to be Nixon in that one, but on this one, it doesn't matter to me. I don't even need to be in it. It's whatever jumps out at you guys. Matt, you haven't been Nixon yet. Do you want to try Nixon or?
Sure. For the Limelight, sure.
You do Frost for this one.
Okay.
I want to do Frost for the last one.
Okay. I'll be Frost. Okay.
Action.
If we're honest for a minute, we reflect privately for a moment. We allow ourselves a glimpse into that shadowy place we call our soul. Isn't that why we're here now? The two of us looking for a way back into the sun, into the limelight, back onto the winner's podium, because we could feel it slipping away. We were headed, both of us, for the dirt, the place that the snobs always told us we'd end up, face in the dust, humiliated all the more for having tried so pitifully hard. Well, hell with that. We're not going to let that happen, either of us. We're going to show those bums and make them choke on our continued success, our continued headlines, our continued awards, power, and glory. We're going to make those motherfuckers choke. Am I right?
You are, except only one of us can win.
And I shall be your fiercest adversary. I shall come at you with everything I've got, because the limelight can only shine on one of us. For the other, it'll be the wilderness, with nothing and no one for company but those voices ringing in our heads. You can probably tell I've had a drink. Not too many, just one or two. But believe me, when the time comes, I'll be focused and ready for battle.
I would expect nothing less.
Well, good night, Mr. Frost.
Good night, Mr. President.
Cut.
Nice.
Kapla!
What a great scene. I mean, from a film perspective, the monologue there, sometimes that's all you need is just some really juicy dialogue to really bring a piece to life, and I feel like that was one of the scenes in this movie that was just so juicy.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we have 4 this time. I think the last episode we only did 1 scene.
Yeah,
it was a good
one.
one. But this one we've got 4, so we have a lot of things to play with.
You have to have this one though.
I'm stealing Tricky Dick in this one, but everybody else have at the other parts. There's Nixon, Frost, and Reston.
Yeah, I want to lay claim to Frost on this one here. So which one are you going to be Reston?
Yeah, I'll be Reston.
Okay.
Action.
All right. If Haldeman and Ehrlichman really were the ones responsible when you subsequently found out about it, why didn't you call the police and have them arrested? Isn't that just a cover-up of another kind?
Maybe I should have done... Maybe I should have called the feds into my office and said, "Here are 2 men. Haul them down to the dock, fingerprint them, and throw them into the can." But I'm just not made that way. These men, Haldeman and Ehrlichman, I knew their families. I've known them since they were little kids. And I've just always maintained that what they were doing what we were all doing was not criminal. When you're in office, you have to do a lot of things that are not, in the strictest sense of the law, legal. But you do them because they're in the greater interest of the nation.
Wait a minute. Did I hear right? Are you really saying that there are certain situations where the president can decide whether it's in the best interest of the nation to do something illegal?
I'm saying when the president does it, then it's not illegal.
I'm sorry?
That's what I believe. I realize no one else shares that view.
So in that case, will you accept, then, to clear the air once and for all, that you were part of a cover-up and you did break the law?
Got him.
Cut.
I mean, that was also like a long scene. I could have kept it going with it, but I didn't know where to stop. I mean, there was so much good dialogue in there before and after that part. I thought that was a good place to end.
You know, something that's very interesting about the scene, and something that I think about in terms of how we as a country have gotten to where we are today in regards to the people like Donald Trump, to the Supreme Court granting a president immunity. I think that the United States has an unfortunate culture of lack of accountability. It's kind of baked into the culture of the country.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's innocent lives that have been taken overseas, Tuskegee experiments, experimenting on people of color, the country being built on the back of people that have been enslaved. Accountability is just not something that this country is used to doing. And to be positive, there are some people out there that are trying to make that. I guess, is atone the right word? I don't know if atone is the right word, or to bring light to the wrongdoings. But when you have lack of accountability built into the culture of the country, when you have it built as the foundation, this is how you get things like Donald Trump. This is how you get here, is because accountability is just not part of the conversation. And it has to start being part of the conversation so we can start moving forward.
Well, guys, so this portion of the pod, we've reached rewrites. And if this is your first time checking out Cinema Z, welcome! So in this part of the pod, we give all of the people at the table an opportunity to let us know if they were going to make this film themselves, what would they change about it to sort of make the film better, if anything. Sometimes there's stuff, sometimes there's not stuff. But I'll throw it to you guys. What do you think? If you were making this film, what would you do different?
I wouldn't change anything I can think of off the top of my head. I would say the lack of a rewrite of the elements of the interview that we have word for word is a wonderful thing. And I'm glad they didn't rewrite that. So that's my rewrite section.
I think the movie overall is really good. The only thing that I would have kind of put maybe at the end is Nixon did not really admit to too much even in this interview. Yes, he says if the president does it, then it's not illegal. But he doesn't go much further than that in the reality.
Yeah.
Because to a degree, that makes him more sympathetic that he's trying to apologize at the end of the movie. It's like he never did. He stuck to, in his version of principles, he stuck to his guns, and he never admitted he did anything wrong. Yeah, and that, that builds to, giving later politicians, regardless of what party they're in, that gives them agency in their mind to do the same thing. And you build this
enabling,
you build the ability to enable somebody else.
It takes a very special person to be able to admit when they are wrong and when they have done something wrong. I think it is human nature to, think the best of yourself, and then you get caught in something and someone tries to hold you accountable for it. You get defensive. That is natural, but it takes someone special to take the next step and to say, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong. And that's just that's human decency. I think for me, the one thing that rubbed me the wrong way, and the character of Caroline Cushing, I wish that character was given more to do, and I didn't quite understand why that character was there. I
feel like maybe she probably had more scenes, but they probably cut them because the movie got a little long. I don't know. That's what I could see, because there was, with what she had, she acted the crap out of.
She did.
But then again, I can see your point, Matt. It was like, okay, why is she here?
I was just trying to figure out why she was there, and I think about the key players that are in the movie and in context of the history and all those things. I guess I can understand if it was, I don't know, male dominated, but I'm just saying that if she had a contribution as well, I wanted to see that. I just didn't want to see her giving burgers to this man. You know what I mean? That rubbed me the wrong way.
That's bad. For me, it's tough. I really like the film. I agree with you, Matt, on your rewrite. That's something I'd probably change myself. But also, the movie, for being a film that was based on a play, that was based on interviews, politically, the material can be... I don't think the movie was dry. I think it was actually, they pumped up the volume, and I think they did a great job of making it interesting, but it was still a long film.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how they could have cut it in a way, or what they could have trimmed here and there to make it a little bit more svelte and a little bit more bite-sized for modern audiences, Because even though I do enjoy the film, I find myself on the couch, kind of like in and out of my attention. To be fair.
Yeah.
And I say that loving the film.
It's a political junkies film for sure.
And I have ADHD, so that doesn't help. So, well, moving on to standouts. This is the part of the pod where we talk about things that maybe haven't been covered yet in our discussion, that we thought were great about the film, that stood out to us. So, let's go around and hopefully we all have something to share.
I'll start with something kind of funny. The description of that Nixon gives of his conversation with Henry Kissinger, he says something to the effect of like, "I'm a Quaker, you're a Jew. Neither one of us is very orthodox, but let's pray." That was beautiful. I thought it summed both of them up very well.
I thought it was funny where he gets the pair of shoes that he, was cutting Frost down for, and Frost just did not catch on that Nixon was, he made those comments to unnerve him before the first interview. And then he's probably like, "I'm just going to throw these in the ocean."
Yeah.
The shoes were a very nice through line. It was a very nice through line. And it was at the beginning, when it was brought up at the beginning of the film, I just thought, what an odd thing to comment on. I thought maybe it was just part of, because Nixon is obviously problematic throughout the movie with these little comments that he makes. And I thought that was just going to be, just another one of them. I'm like, what? He's talking about the shoes now? Okay, this is just another, one of his, his messy things to say. But it makes, it comes back and I like it. Well done. I think for me, I have to say, I thought the actor that played Nixon was great. I thought it was great. I do think, and I gotta take a look at the film again, but in terms of just the resolution or it looked a little grainy, and it looked like it took place in the 1970s. Maybe that's just because now, with everything being filmed in HD, maybe even for like 2009, 2008, this movie, might be aging a little bit. But from what it looked like, what I was watching, it looked like an aged piece, like it was supposed to be in that period. So I thought that was a nice touch.
So the cinematography you enjoyed.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of brought it up at the beginning, but I think I was surprised by the film that I would enjoy it on multiple levels, like the historical junkie in me. I'm a nerd. I just love history. I always have. And so that was cool for me. but then also the surprising moments, learning more about Nixon and finding him funny. It's just, that was a surprise and something that I enjoyed about this film. And also, to tag on to Matt's point, you talked about the cinematography. That's amazing. And also the acting. I think the actors that they got to play, was it Frank? I'm going to mispronounce, but is it
Langella?
Frank Langella and Michael Sheen. They had played it on the stage. We're going to get into trivia here in a second, but they just really embodied the roles. So even though we all know what Dick Nixon looks like we've all seen him, we've all seen the memes, we could look at Frank, listen to him, and believe that he was Dick Nixon. And that was not an easy thing to do.
A quick question for Chrissy and Jason. So because I don't know this information, the phone call, was that added? That was something that actually happened?
No, that was added.
That was added.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get into that with trivia.
Okay.
So guys, trivia!
Da-da-da.
All right, so we do have a bit of trivia to get through here today, but it's a historical film, so there was bound to be some. But yeah, I figured we'd just sort of go down the list. I guess I'll kick us off and then take turns going down. Sound good?
Okay.
Frank Langella admits that he usually enjoys playing cards and joking around on movie sets, but felt it would compromise his character if he didn't remain presidential on the set. So while working on this movie, other cast members and crew referred to him as Mr. President. Langella suggests almost none of the crew ever met him.
Frank Langella and Michael Sheen repeated the roles they created on stage. Ron Howard would only agree to direct if the studio would allow both actors to appear in the film version. Thank you, Ron Howard, for having some integrity and picking the craft over what's going to bring in the dollars. Thank you.
The phone conversation at midnight between Frost and Nixon never actually happened. Screenwriter Peter Morgan got the inspiration from well-known phone calls Nixon did make late in the night to some government members during the Watergate scandal.
Ron Howard said he voted for Nixon in the 1972 election and regrets it.
The real David Frost was on set the day the climactic interview was shot. This presence did not unsettle Michael Sheen. So he was there and he just went with it. Yeah, that's cool.
The piano piece you can hear in the movie is the Richard Nixon Piano Concerto No. 1, written by the president himself and is played by Frank Langella, who plays Nixon. A video of Nixon himself playing it on a television show can be found on the internet. Interesting.
The premiere episode of the Frost-Nixon interviews drew 45 million viewers, the largest television audience for a political interview in history, a record that still stands today.
Ron Howard described Frost-Nixon as being a thinking person's Rocky.
In 1977, the year the actual David Frost and Richard Nixon interviews, Ron Howard was directing his first feature film, Grand Theft Auto.
Ron Howard previously directed Kevin Bacon in Apollo 13 in 1995. In that film, Bacon's character is granted an extension on his taxes by President Nixon.
Coincidentally, Sam Rockwell was born on Election Day 1968, November 5th, 1968, when Richard Nixon was first elected as President of the United States.
Clint Howard has also appeared in Apollo 13, also directed by his brother Ron. He appears in nearly all of Ron's works and in almost every iteration of Star Trek.
Somebody had to say it. Yes! We love you, Clint Howard.
Yes.
Evidently, Warren Beatty was originally approached about the role of Richard Nixon, so that would have been different. Well, guys, we have reached the final thoughts portion of the program, and I thought it would be appropriate this time if we give out the stars and stripes. So, how many stars and stripes? We got 1 to 5. Are you guys going to give out for this film?
I'm going to go with all 50.
Nice.
Not lucky 13, huh? Oh, I'm never good at rating things. I'll give this 4 out of 5 burglars who didn't know how to lock a door.
I'm gonna give it 4.5, just because I wasn't crazy about how they treated Caroline, but everything else was good, so 4.5.
I think I'm going to echo Matt here. I'm going to stick with my buddy Matt Jennings, and I will also give it 4.5 stars.
What else can you listen to on the BQN? Replicate yourself a mug of hot chocolate and join Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin as they discuss everything and anything in the Star Trek universe on All Good Things. Boost yourself with an energy drink and join Davey on YouTube and Twitch for reviews and live streams of classic, cheap, and sometimes more recent video games on Bargain Bin Gamer. Brew yourself a pot of coffee and join Jeremiah to discuss Star Trek Voyager on The Captain's Couch. Mix your favorite cocktail and join Mark and Matt at Cinema Z to discuss the films you probably missed but should definitely check out. Pour a cup of tea, Earl Grey, hot, and listen to Stephen and Keith as they discuss the next generation of Trek on Galaxy Class. Get yourself something caffeinated and learn an interesting bit of history with Chrissie and Jason on History with the Szilagyis. Have a bowl of Flomeek soup and join Thad and Chrissie and a guest to discuss new episodes of Star Trek as they are released on Infinite Diversity. Have something to sharpen your mind and put your Trek knowledge to the test with the Treksperts quiz. Take a bite out of something that didn't seem edible and join Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley covering all things in New Trek, including that show that is Trek in all but name, The Orville, on Union Federation. Get your Sunday brunch ready for The View Screen, a live weekly talk show hosted by Kelvin and Amy with featured guests talking about all things Trek. Pour a glass of wine and spill some tea with Christos while he discusses current Trek news and events and explores the world of fandom via guest interviews, all with an LGBTQIA+ perspective on What's the Tea, Bev? And Patreon members get to pass around that green bottle of Aldebaran whiskey once a month on the round table, and they can listen to It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moments.
Well, Matt, what are we going to be talking about next time? Listen, what other political film are we going to put in the ear holes and eye holes of our listeners?
The next film that we are going to be talking about is one of my favorites. It's based off of a graphic novel, I believe, called V for Vendetta. In a future British dystopian society, a shadowy freedom fighter known only as V plots to overthrow the tyrannical government with the help of a young woman named Natalie Portman. Her name isn't Natalie Portman in the movie.
That's nice. That's. I think it's Evie Hammond. Actually, I've
It
seen
is even
more times than I can count.
Yeah, it's Evie Hammond. It's not Natalie Portman. It's Evie Hammond. But yeah,
not Padme.
Yeah,
not Padme. not Padme either.
Padme.
He accidentally calls her Padme at one point, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, mistook you for someone else."
Wrong film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to discuss V with you. My best friend who passed away a few years ago, him and I would watch it every year on the 5th of November. Whether we were together or separate, we would both watch it. And he ended up, he loved the film so much he had the mask. When he eventually got married, he got married on the 5th of November. I mean, it was very meaningful for him. And so the movie also was very special for me. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I think that it is a great commentary on what can happen when a government is unchecked, when powers are absolute, right? And so I think that, going into this film, I think it's a cautionary tale for our listeners and for the voters out there, because this will be dropping around election time. Maybe put party aside. If you've been listening this whole time and you're still like undecided independent voter out there, maybe watch this movie and just think, like, do you want that? Do you want to live in that world? Because that's how we get there. Okay.
And I would strongly encourage people, if they don't know what it is, look up Project 2025. That's a very important. That's a very important document to look at in regards to what Donald Trump wants to do in the next if he were to win. Look at that. Consider the rights of anyone that is, not white, straight, male, and rich. Think about that. Think about your right to protest for, people that are concerned about what's happening in Gaza right now. Think about the right to protest and look at Project 2025. Think about the right to speak your mind and Project 2025. Think about this podcast. Think about Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
All of those things.
We would be down immediately.
All of that stuff.
Us too.
All of that stuff is on the line. We take a lot for granted right now. I know that things aren't great in some ways, but we take a lot of stuff for granted right now. Look at Project 2025 and look what could be taken away from you.
And if you also want to do some more reading after you finish Project 2025, reading all of that, I also have posted in the BQN group already Jack Smith's entire redacted report.
Yes.
And
Nice.
that has been dropped. So that is also worth checking out as well.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
January 6th. So, yes. Okay. Well, we would love to hear what you thought of today's special episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue this great discussion there. You can also send your thoughts to @CinemaZPod on BlueSky and let us know if you'd like to recommend a film. Please follow the network on BlueSky, Instagram at BQN Podcast. Don't forget you can join the conversation with BQN hosts and fellow fans on our Discord server. And, I'm not even going to say I'm going to drop the link because I never dropped the link. Just reach out to one of us. I'm taking that off the script.
Don't we have it linked on the Facebook page? We should.
Ask anybody that's a host. We'll get the link for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if I post it in the link in the thing, how are they going to click on it? If they can, it's probably expired anyway. Maybe they're listening a year from now. I don't know. So just message us. We'll get you on the Discord server. That's the best way. Okay. So, Matt, where can people find you when you're not looking effeminate in your Italian leather shoes?
Oh,
I don't know why it sounded like Katharine Hepburn. It was like a merge of Katharine Hepburn and Richard Nixon.
That was beautiful.
Well, if you do want to find me effeminate and in leather shoes, subscribe to my OnlyFans. But when I'm not doing that, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. Is it Threads? Yeah, Threads.
Yes.
On @1701BLERD. I made a web series about a queer black nerd that sees his life like a Star Trek episode. Give it a follow, give it a watch. If it resonates with you, please share it. And Chrissie, where can people find you when you are not redacting audio tapes from the U.S. government archives?
Well, it's easier to just destroy them. I got to say, Frost was right about that. So, but other than that, you can find me on 2 of our collective's podcasts. The first of those is Infinite Diversity, where we discuss each new episode of Trek as it's released. We'll be back. I don't know when this is dropping, but it's the end of October. We'll be back with Lower Decks. And then there's also, of course, History with the Szilagyis. That's that twice weekly short history podcast that we do. I know we've been a little bit inconsistent lately. Things have been a little weird. We had COVID at the beginning of the semester, so we're coming back from that. I'm also happy to chat about all of our shows in the BQN Collective on Facebook and in our Discord server. And I'm on the various socials at The Goddess Livia. That's TheGoddessLivia, where you can see my opinions about Star Trek history and leftist politics. All right, Jay, where can people find you when you're not discussing Nixon's involvement in Vietnam?
You can find me on the social platforms at Jason Dark Elf. I also am available to talk about BQN podcasts on our Facebook and Discord server. Mark, where can we find you when you're not drinking gin and tonics?
Well, I have to leave my street if I'm not doing that. So when I'm not doing that, which has been a lot lately, You guys can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook group. You guys can also find me on BlueSky. Occasionally I'm on another pod, All Good Things, which is the Star Trek pod here on the network. We're on hiatus right now, but should be back early next year, or actually maybe even late fall or winter. I don't know. We'll be back in a few months. All right. I don't know. At some point. Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you podcast and leave us a star rating or written review, because that helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching B2N.
At this time, we would like to thank our associate producer, Amy Nelson, and Davey Willett. A special thanks to Las Marquez for our original show art. The opening and closing music for this podcast is titled Dancing Dead and was provided by Ketsa from the Free Music Archive, providing royalty-free music for content creators.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We'll add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green and Amy's Math Moments and other network perks. And with a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join in our Star Trek script table reads. Watch your Patreon messages for details.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll tune in next time.
And remember that even when the president does it, it can still be illegal.
I am not a crook.
But you are though. But you are. You are.
You're real simple like it. You're all going to fucking Vietnam. Again.
Oh no. Oh, we're gonna get canceled before we get to do the next episode.
No, that was beautiful.
I just like the through line of the Borg Nixon.
Borg Nixon.
Thank you, Jason.
Never occurred to me. Borg Nixon.
Legality is futile.
Oh, we're keeping that.
That's the end. Yeah, there you go.
That's the end.
Okay.
And that's it.